Aboro, Aboye, Abosheshe, and welcome to another live stream of the Ifá-Orisha tradition discussion. And before I begin, let me offer the Iba. Open Ifon Oludmare Oba Jiki, Mojiloni, Momogun Mary Aye, Iba Ila Orun, Iba Iwo Orun, Iba Ariwa, Iba Gusu, Iba Oba Igba Aye, Iba Orun Oke, Iba Baba, Iba Yeye, Iba Atiwo Orun, Ibashe Igungun Kiki Igungun, Ibashe Ori, Ori Inu, Ipori Atiwo Orun, Ibashe Igungun Kiki Igungun. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Now, tonight, I want to discuss the whole issue of unity. All right, this has been a discussion that I've been having repeatedly for the last 4 to 5 years. All right, but it's an old message, but it is always a relevant message, particularly for our people. All right. Each year, there are different festivals and celebrations held in our community around the world. And during these festivities, everyone would come out, participate, lend their support. And in most instances, these festivals are considered to be a success. Participation-wise, meaning the members of the community would come out and support. And ritualistically, they are considered to be successful also, because most of these festivals are really not just for providing an opportunity for members of the community to get together, but it's also a way of paying respect to our divinities. All right? Now, the various organizations who host in Trinidad and in particular, who host these events, they go through a lot of sacrifices in order to be able to host these events. In most instances, they go it alone, meaning in many instances, they do not get any sort of support from the government. Some do, but the vast majority does not. All right? Hopefully, this is something that in the future we may make an attempt to remedy by involving maybe some of the government institutions in sponsoring and supporting some of our national festivals. Excuse me. Now, having the support of the government or of the authorities of the different government agencies does many things. Not just does it make a financial contribution, but it allows for the recognition and the acknowledgement of the contributions that are made by many of the various members, long-standing members of the national community. All right, the contributions that has been made in particular by the African community is very outstanding. All right, as we serve as maybe the second oldest indigenous tradition that is practiced in this country. The only indigenous tradition that is older than Ifá-Orisha would be the traditions that were practiced by the original inhabitants of these lands. All right, and then when one investigates the practices of the indigenous people from this part of the earth, you will discover that it is very similar and there are very little differences in what we in the Ifá-Orisha community actually do versus what the indigenous people of these lands actually do and practice. But that is by the way, right? But unity implies the coming together of people. All right? In the Ifá-Orisha community, we do not exclude the wider community from supporting and participating in our activities. Our activities are open to everyone. Normally when we have national festivals, you can see all the different ethnic groups that belong to this country supporting as well as participating in the activities. All right? Now, Osa Agbe informs us that for enduring success in all the different areas of life, we must cooperate with each other as a people. Unity, cooperation, mutual support, and teamwork is needed to get us to our goals. These efforts will become considerably easier when done together. Our elders have stated in their wise sayings that one may move quickly by walking alone, but to journey far, one must walk with others. All right, that is the essence of Osa Agbe. All right, Osa Agbe is the name or the title of a particular verse that is taken from our sacred text. All right, in ancient times, many of the teachings that we follow were orally transmitted from one generation to another. It is only within the last few decades, because of modernization and because of the propagation of Ifá-Orisha, that much of the oral history of our ancestral tradition has been written in books. Many of the books have the writings of the body of information in both Yoruba as well as in English. Now, like everything else, when you have information being taken from one language and brought into another language, sometimes it is very, very difficult to effectively transmit the essence of the ideas. All right? So for us in the diaspora who follow our ancestral tradition, the sources of information that we use have to be very carefully examined. It also has to be compared to other sources of the same information, as well as we also have to make an effort to understand the language, to understand the idioms, meaning a lot of the sayings and a lot of the symbolisms and the implications of the lessons that are within the Odus. All right? Now, I'm explaining this because I read from Osa Agbe. All right? I would explain a little more and then I would go back to reading. Now, in the Ifa corpus, we have 16 fundamental or father verses, and from those 16, all of the 256 Odus are created. All right, now it may sound technical, all right, but we have to look at it like a logical mathematical process, all right, where you have principal or primary numbers. When they are multiplied, added, and you carry out specific functions, they multiply or they increase. It is the same principle that is applied to the Odus that makes up the verses that makes up the 256. All right, now in each one that exists, there are multiple verses coming out of each one. So even though I say it is 256 permutations, within each one of them, there are multiple verses that comes out of each of the 256, which makes up a very extensive amount of verses. All right? How these verses are interpreted, how are they made clear to persons? It follows very, very specific rules of interpretation that would allow us to receive the guidance and to make sense of it, and to also find within those verses the solutions to the various challenges that we face during the course of our lives. All right, but let me go back to unity a bit. All right, I was just giving some explanation. So when you hear me say an Odu or a verse or an essay, you would have an idea what it is I'm speaking about. Now, going back to unity, if every person who could hear my voice now contributes by doing their part responsibly, despite how small it may seem, all of the individual contributions add up and they effectively move us into the direction towards achieving and accomplishing the things that we need to accomplish as a community. So it does not matter how small and how insignificant your effort may appear to be when it is multiplied with the effort made by the other members of our community. it would move us in a positive direction towards the effective fulfillment of our goals. So my appeal to the members of the community is that we must commit ourselves to making the necessary changes today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, today. And this will ensure for us a better tomorrow for our future generations. All right, now we are currently facing many challenges. And one of them, the reality is, we've had a lot of geopolitical activities lately that seems to be intensifying. We've even had our neighboring country, our closest neighbor, experiencing a lot of difficulties where the leader was taken out of the country and taken to the US. Now, I'm not political, and this is not about geopolitics. What concerns citizens of Trinidad, and in particular the members of our community, is if there was ever a time when we needed to be unified as a community, it is today. Why? If a full-scale war was to ensue in Venezuela, then we in Trinidad, and my concern here is the members of the Ifá-Orisha community, how would we eat? Where would we go? How would we survive if there is war? Because if war breaks out in Venezuela, we are going to have an influx of immigrants fleeing Venezuela and coming to Trinidad. That's one possibility. We may also have the possibility of Trinidad being included in the war, which means we may have different types of scenarios that are associated to war. We have to talk about emergency and contingency planning. We have to talk about food supplies. We have to talk about shelter. We have to talk about developing agricultural sectors within our community that could provide us with the necessary food. We also have to talk about being organized, us encouraging members of our community to plant home gardens, us encouraging members of our community to start doing the type of activities that would allow us to be able to sustain any emergency situation. All right, I'm tempted here to say that other members of other communities have food production companies. They have sectors that are involved in agriculture. They have businesses that could uphold their community in any emergency. Unfortunately, we are not in that position presently. However, this is a situation that we can change if we decide to cooperatively put the things in place that is needed for our survival. So the message of unity with the current situation becomes a very serious and pressing issue. And this is for all the members, and it also includes, this message is also for the elders. We have to learn to set aside differences when it is needed. We have to be able to sit at the table and discuss unity for the purpose of survival. This is a very serious subject. It is not one that could be swept under the carpet, because it actually means in this instance that some of the members of our community who are unprepared may not survive. So this is not a pep talk. I'm not trying to sell anyone anything. I'm not trying to get anything from anyone. All I'm trying to do is to use reason, rational, logic, and use my sense of vision. And even if there is no war and we are to become unified and start producing food, doing agriculture, and having food production companies, we still win as a people and as a community. I am not asking anyone to do anything irrational. I'm not asking anyone to expose themselves to any form of injustice. I'm not asking anyone to subjugate themselves to having to compromise their integrity. What I am asking is for us to work together. All right? Now, this is my request. I have formed a group on social media on Facebook that is called the Ifá-Orisha Emergency Planning Group. I would request that all the members of our community subscribe and join the group. In the group, what I would be posting and have been posting already for the last 2 months is the type of information that you would need to have and to know should there be an emergency. In there is also information on how to have a home garden with the essentials that you would need should there be an emergency. The way I speak, sometimes it might be a little frightening for some people. Some people say I speak in a commanding tone, and some people say I speak down to others. That is not my intention. Forgive me. Most of my life I've been involved in leadership. Okay? I am now at the stage where I am retired. I'm here in Trinidad, living here after living many years abroad. And the main reason why I'm not abroad is 2 reasons. One, because of my health. And the second reason is because I chose to return home to aid my people in their development, using the skills that I have acquired over the years. I've decided, rather than staying in another man's country and contributing to build a man's country, why not come to my own people and elevate them? I have never been after titles because I've had many titles while living abroad. I wore many hats in many positions. I don't need any position here. All I'm trying to do is to make a contribution to help my people. Because believe it or not, we need help. At the moment, we have just a few members of the community engaging in agriculture. And I would like to acknowledge them and thank them, all the members who are engaging in agriculture. But we need it at a wider scale in order to have a self-sufficient community. If we have never seen the need for that, with what is pending now, at least we should have an idea that we need to have those things in place. All right? I do not want to be critical. I don't want to sound like I'm talking down. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to say somebody haven't done or whatever. You know, we are all very sensitive people. Much of it because of what we have been through. And I understand that. And please don't misconstrue my words. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm appealing, again, as I have been doing for the last 4 years, for us to come together. All right, the simple step that I would recommend at this stage is to join the Ifá-Orisha Emergency Planning Group. And from there, I would try to put as much information as possible. And also, I do not want it to be a one-man parade. Every person who joins the group can get information and post it in the group and contribute towards our own future security and safety. All right, I don't want to say anything beyond what I've already said. I don't want to land myself into no trouble, because these days, you know, if you say anything and you mention the word government, it's immediately either taken down or whatever action that is taken. All right, but I am appealing to the members of the Ifá-Orisha community, and this does not just mean people who practice Ifa and Orisha. It means all the other people who fall under the umbrella of our community, which would include the Shango Baptist community as well as the Orisha community. It doesn't matter the names and the denominations and the different groups. As long as you practice African traditional religion, your place is to unify together with us for the development of our people, for the safety of our people, and for the future of our generations. Okay, there are too many things happening around us for us to not be aware. It is time for us to shake off the past, do what is needed today so we could have a better tomorrow. All right, and with that, I would say Oda, and hopefully, by the grace of Olodumare, I would see you all live on my history live on Friday. All right, my words of admonition is always the same. You do good for yourself. You do bad for yourself. All right, so my words of advice is to always do good. Why? You're doing good for you, and you're also creating an inheritance for your offsprings that would include Ire and Ashe because of what you do today. So it is now up to us to come together and to do what is necessary for our survival. Odabo, and see you on Friday.